Every morning, we collaborate with the CBS News Confirmed team to dive into stories that need a little extra fact-checking. Today, we are talking about how Latino voters are being targeted by disinformation. This comes after, of course, a comedian made racist jokes about Puerto Rico at a Trump rally earlier in New York on Sunday. Trump says he didn't hear the joke and doesn't know the comedian. But some Republicans are voicing concerns about the party's relationship with Latinos. Census data shows that Latinos are the largest racial or ethnic minority in the U.S., and they make up a decisive portion of the vote in key battleground states. Joining us now is Roberta Braga, the co-founder and executive director of the Digital Democracy Institute of the Americas. Welcome, Roberta. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So you and your team monitor spaces where Latinos talk, and you're seeing that disinformation is targeting them. Where are you looking, and what is this disinformation looking like?
Sure, so that's a great question. We do a combination of polling and narrative analysis. So we're looking at all of the major social media platforms, and then we also monitor 1,300 public WhatsApp groups of Latinos. So any group that puts out a link for people to join on the internet, we're able to kind of anonymously see what's happening there. And then to your question about what it looks like, I think that this year, we saw a lot of recycled things from other country contexts, but also from previous elections. It boils down, I think, to three buckets of disinformation: election fraud and election interference, anti-immigration disinformation that really aims to paint our communities as being generally criminals or violent or destroying the fabric of U.S. society. And I would say the third one is that elites are conspiring to keep society down. And that's really a global one that we see penetrating between Latin America and the U.S. and vice versa.
So how do we fix this? Or do we just get used to the fact that, as it was once upon a time, you can't trust what you read, you can't trust what you see, and especially not on social media?
So there are a lot of ways to fix it, and I think we actually have some good news. So in the polling that we did in September, we actually saw that belief in some conspiracy narratives that we'd tracked went down, and trust in some election stakeholders, like secretaries of state and election administrators, went up among Latinos. And so I think people are becoming a little more resilient, but overall, I think how you fix this is a combination of helping people become more critical and resilient to information they see, which is complicated because things aren't really clear-cut, true or false anymore, or at least it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
And then I think on the other side, it's about changing the infrastructure itself. So I think like the business models of social media companies and the spaces where we're consuming information, they tend to reward really extreme content.
Right.
And it sort of paints the picture that we're a lot more divided than we actually are. And I think that really fosters a lot of distrust and increases polarization. And that's
So a lot of these groups are talking in Spanish. Is there a part of this that is perhaps a result or influenced by the fact that this is in Spanish and maybe not as regulated? You know, disinformation isn't caught as easily?
A little bit, it is, but Latinos are really multilingual. We're organically consuming English, Spanish, Portuguese language information in a really cyclical way. And so a lot of content that is produced in the United States discusses things in Latin America and vice versa. And so I think it's really a question of, yes, we need some better trust and safety measures at the companies to at least flag or action against things that violate their own terms of service already.
In all the languages.
So that's the question.
In all the languages.
The monitoring component of this, the companies, habla español at Instagram and TikTok, or are they just letting it fly?
No, they do. I think there are a lot of things that are happening inside, but it hasn't been sufficient. And I think the issue is that it's also been a little bit asymmetric. So the priority you see is really put on English language content. And over the years, we've seen when content violates their terms of service in really clear ways, like during COVID, for example, the stuff in English was often flagged or it was removed. And then we would see content in Spanish staying up for a lot longer, sometimes months, years after.
Wow.
And because of the borderless cyclical nature of this, I think it's sometimes hard and other countries don't get a lot of the focus compared to the US.
And really quickly, where is this disinformation coming from? Is there a specific actor overseas or domestically that's kind of generating a lot of this?
To be totally honest, I think it's coming from really partisan figures. And this year we saw a lot of it coming from actual candidates, sometimes electeds, and what we call pundits or influencers. So people that support one side or the other are on YouTube producing videos for Latinos, talking about the state of the world, but doing it while also spreading false and misleading information.
Roberta, thank you so much. That was really illuminating.